This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors. The Simmons Sales Team, your hometown realtors. Our Excelsior Springs Hospital, where better care is right in your backyard. Find out how you can advertise with Excelsior Springs' #1 community resource. Visit excelsiorcitizen.com today.
Longest minute.
Oh, I thought that was coming from that.
No. I do too. It's at
Recording in progress.
Okay, we have our opening, and Mark Spahn's going to do our opening for us this morning. Steve.
Would you bow with me? Precious Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. God, we thank you for our city. We thank you for this time to gather and conduct the business of this city. And Father, we pray as councilmen and women and mayor and city manager that you would give wisdom where it is needed and discernment. And God, make us mindful even in this meeting of your presence. We give you our praise and our thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mark. Roll call, Shannon.
Councilman Spahn.
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear.
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Okay. Are there any visitors here this evening that would like to address the council that are not on the agenda? Minutes of the regular city council meeting of September 19th, 2022.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of September 19th, 2022.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon.
Councilman Spahn.
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear.
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Okay, consideration of agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon.
Councilman Kowalski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Councilman Spahn.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear.
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a proclamation for the Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive. Is there anyone here from the Knights of Columbus? Okay, we will skip that one. The next one is our proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. Chief, you want to join me up here? Where do you want us, Jason?
You're fine. Wherever you want to go.
Okay. Whereas the city of Excelsior Springs, Missouri is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our community, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at the greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires caused 2,580 civilian deaths in the United States in 2020, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and the fire departments in the United States responded to 356,500 home fires. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to the danger in the event of a fire, which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. Whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. Whereas the residents of Excelsior Springs should be sure everyone in the home understands the sounds of the smoke alarms and knows how to respond. Whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Excelsior Springs residents will make sure their smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all their family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. Whereas our first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. Whereas our residents that are responsive to public education measures are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. Whereas the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind Excelsior Springs that it is important to have a home fire escape plan. Therefore, I, Sharon Powell, Mayor of Excelsior Springs, do hereby proclaim October 9th through 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the city, and urge all people of Excelsior Springs to plan and practice a home fire escape plan for Fire Prevention Week 2022, and support the many safety activities and efforts of the Excelsior Springs Fire and Emergency Services. So done this third day of October 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 3 is a resolution approving a supplemental agreement with Vireo related to the Fishing River Watershed Master Plan.
During our meetings with our consultants, we've discussed evaluating Crystal Lakes and as to the viability of dredging Crystal Lakes to provide additional capacity to for stormwater that may otherwise enter the East Fork of the Fishing River. So our consultants have provided a supplemental agreement that is within our consulting fees. So this will not be in addition to the fees we've already agreed to conduct that survey, and Crystal Lakes is supportive of this additional action.
Do you have any questions of Molly? A resolution approving a supplemental agreement with Vireo related to the Fishing River Watershed Master Plan.
I make a motion we approve resolution number 1382, consideration of supplemental agreement with Vireo.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Spawn?
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear?
Yes.
Mayor Powell?
Yes. Agenda item number 4 is a resolution approving a task order for Lamp Rynearson Incorporated related to the engineering services for Milwaukee Park. Nate?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. To answer your question real quick, they did finish up today.
Awesome.
All tests came back great, so it's a tough pour. So tonight, it's, I guess, a pretty straightforward, kind of non-sexy portion of the project, but it has to be done. The engineering for the parking lot and kind of the stormwater piece for the future park off Milwaukee Street. So we have used Lamp Rynearson. All information is included in the packet. It's, I believe, 22 parking spots that they have gridded out for us, with 4 of those being ADA lots. A lot of the work, it does list in there kind of a big number for what they estimate the project to cost, but a lot of the work will be done in-house by our maintenance crew. So what we're asking for tonight is approval for the engineering and construction services for the project. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
It includes that drive also too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Okay, a resolution approving a task order for Lamprey Nearson Incorporated related to the engineering services for Milwaukee Park.
I move we approve resolution number 1383, consideration of Lamprey Nearson task order for Milwaukee Park.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5 is an ordinance approving a special use permit for the commercial rental of the old Roosevelt High School gymnasium for public events in District RP4, Planned Medium Density Apartment District at 101 Richmond Street, City of Excelsior Springs, Clay County, Missouri.
Thank
Doug.
you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me, members of the council. And a point of update, the city has assigned a new address to the gymnasium space, so that'll be 121 Richmond, because that'll potentially, depending on actions here this evening, be a different use. The old Roosevelt High School, built in 1929, as many of you know, has been sitting vacant for some time. And 2 years ago, the City Planning Commission and City Council approved a rezoning to a planned medium-density residential district, the RP4, and with that approved the development plan for the high school, and that was for elderly apartments. Subsequent to that rezoning approval, the applicant at that time, who's still the current owner of the building, approached the city and applied for a special use permit in order to utilize the gymnasium and the auditorium space for special activities, for recreational, congregational, athletic type of activities. That would not just be focused on the residents of the elderly apartments, but for outside use as well. He stated the purpose for that special use permit request at the time was for financial reasons, to make sure that there was a cash flow for the operation in order to secure the proper financing and then to proceed with the rest of the project. The special use permit was approved by the Planning Commission and City Council at that time, with the stipulation that adequate off-street parking plan and construction be provided prior to any use of the gymnasium and auditorium space. The permit was approved for an initial 2-year period, which is the practice of the city. The applicant was very clear that he did not anticipate at that time utilizing it within that 2-year period, but just again for the financial reasons wanted to have that approval to move forward. Since that time, no further redevelopment activity has taken place at the building. At the 2 years ago with that application, city staff noted that the adaptive reuse of those older school buildings, create many opportunities, and the elderly apartments was one. And because of the unique spaces and the layout, there's often other opportunities, and that's what the Commission and Council considered at that point 2 years ago. It's important to evaluate the ability of the site to handle those additional activities and to mitigate potential negative impacts on the surrounding properties. Because of the location of the old Roosevelt High School and the perimeter of the neighborhood that surrounds it, the Commission and Council felt, well, at that time, 2 years ago, those activities could be operated appropriately and have minimal impact. The minimum off-street parking requirement was subject upon the type of use, the final use that was going to be proposed, the activity and the occupancy. So at that time, the Commission and Council decided, well, it's a good opportunity to continue that development and approve that permit with that condition stipulation on the parking being developed, parking plan being approved, parking being constructed. With this application is very similar. The applicant is in the process of or has completed the purchase of the football field part of the old Roosevelt High School site. The applicant has applied for an administrative lot split approval, which is the administrative subdivision process to allow the creation of those two lots as opposed to the one. And the applicant has or is close to having the lease arrangement with the current owner, who is the former applicant and developer of the Roosevelt High School building, to be able to utilize the gymnasium space. He's proposing similar athletic activity for a minor league basketball team. The applicant is aware of the parking standards. He has submitted some draft proposals for parking, and that's under review and discussion with the city staff. The city staff presented this to the Planning Commission at their meeting last week and recommended approval of the application with the same stipulation as the previous special use permit. And that was prior to any commercial rental or any use by outside parties of the gymnasium space, the applicant shall submit a parking plan showing the necessary additional off-street parking for city staff review and approval, and that the additional off-street parking shall be constructed per city standards. So all of that would occur prior to use of the gymnasium space with that stipulation. And also a recommendation of an initial 2-year period, again, which is city practice. The Planning Commission considered this and held a public hearing at their meeting last week. 2 members of the public, a couple that live in close proximity to the high school, attended. They expressed some concern that the elderly apartments project wasn't moving forward, stated some ongoing concerns they had just about traffic matters and how some of the individuals that drive through and around the neighborhood do not always follow traffic laws. Had some discussion about the parking and wanted to make sure that that was going to be addressed. Beyond those comments, we received no other feedback or comments from the residents. At the end of the public hearing, the Planning Commission chairman stated that he felt that it's always appropriate to look at different activities that could help spur the development, and hoping that the elderly apartments project can get a little kickoff with allowing the gymnasium space to move forward with an activity. The commission did note still that the parking was a concern and want to make sure that the parking would be adequately satisfied. City staff committed that all off-street parking demand from whatever use is proposed there will have to be taken care of on property, on site. So that is the approach that city staff and the applicant are working on right now. After some further commission discussion, the commission voted 3-1 to recommend approval of the application of the special use permit with the stipulation regarding the parking and for an initial 2-year period. And your city staff would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I did have a resident call me today. There is still concern from neighbors about the parking in the neighborhood and protecting the integrity of the neighborhood. I think that we have another meeting, at least, city council meeting, prior to a special use permit being utilized or needed, that perhaps maybe we could take some more time, maybe table this issue for now, allow the applicant to come forward with his parking plan for the city's review and comments to whether or not that's going to be a usable plan.
And I know the
That's certainly
top,
possible.
Okay.
the topic of parking certainly sounds like that's an area of focus. During our work session, there was some conversation around the ability for the building to be occupied or granted an occupancy permit. So restrooms, other requirements that might need to be met before. So I don't know if we've made any progress there, but curious as to your
You
thoughts
bet.
on that. I mean, certainly, yes, the parking needs to be addressed, but once folks are inside the building,
So
I think
building
there's
code
some
issues.
building code
Most
issues.
certainly.
And
So when we take things forward to the planning commission, we do mention, we try to mention that all the other city standards and requirements are still gonna have to be complied with. And the applicant, of course, is, in sitting in the pre-development meeting, we went over those different steps for building code compliance, the subdivision that we talked about, and then this element for parking also. So all of those other city standards that everybody else in the city would have to comply with would still need to be met. There's no feeling on, I believe, on city staff's part that it could not be met. So that's why you don't see a more, detailed requirement within the land use discussion. But
Okay.
that's just kind of a given.
Well, we are dealing with the parking tonight, and I think there was a press release that was sent out that caused some confusion and concern with the residents. And I think that we need to consider their thoughts and their feelings and make sure that the applicant is willing to work in good faith toward getting us the information that we need to make those decisions.
The applicant's here.
The applicant's here.
Yes, if you'd like to.
Would you like to,
He can address
would you
this
like
if he
to
wants.
address us,
Yeah.
please?
Thank you. My name is Titus Bond. So I'll give you real quick. I heard a lot of what everyone was speaking of. So we are on year number 3 since the original special use permit was
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So it just expired 2 months ago. So I guess bad timing on my part of finally making a deal with Ted Eady on the property. So if 2 months ago, if I would have walked in the door, we wouldn't be here today.
It would still have expired after 2 years.
Right, and you would have gone through. So 2 years ago, the city council made a decision to grant a special use permit for the property for the exact reason of why I'm utilizing the property. That's point number one. Point number two is during the pre-development meeting with all city staff, with fire, with police, building codes, the floor plans were reviewed by the city staff, restrooms were reviewed by the city staff, fire issues reviewed by the city staff, and I'm someone that's not gonna put money into something until it's reviewed and agreed upon. So that's in regards to Mayor Pro Tem's comments on restrooms and everything. There's a little bit of a loud amount of pessimism from some people that don't live in that neighborhood about the project. And I'll just say that there's a stark difference between private investment and private dollars coming into a community versus public and government dollars coming into a community. Private dollars spur traffic, entertainment, restaurants. You cannot build a community off of government subsidies. So towns like Weston, towns like Parkville, they're based on entertainment, they're based on restaurants, they're based on park systems, they're based on quality of life. This project is quality of life in a nutshell. And I chose this project as the first step towards many steps of all my properties here in Excelsior Springs. And this project is going to be the one that spurs my other projects. So this project, you wanted to table the motion. That's your guys' choice and your guys' option. Should it be tabled, it's not going to happen because I can't. You got Parks rolled out a budget for 22 stall parking lot. I need to build a parking lot tomorrow. So if you table the discussion, I can't go spend money to build a parking lot tomorrow, which means there's not going to be games there, which means my agreement with Mr. Eady goes in the garbage. It means Paradise Playhouse isn't going to open up because I don't have another traffic source for another entertainment venue. It means locks will go on the gates of the Royal Hotel because I won't have scale to bring people into the community, and you have to hit it with scale, and right now, no one else is doing it. So when I made the decision to come to Excelsior Springs, it's because it was a beautiful community. I've known people for years. I worked with them in the political world for Congressman Graves and Attorney General Schmidt, that I had long-lasting relationships with those individuals. I came to Excelsior Springs. I stayed with my wife at the Elms, and I drove home with the same feeling that many people who come here do. It could be so much better. And it will be so much better, but it's going to take private investment. It's going to take people like me taking risks, people with a 9-year-old and 5-year-old at home, where if it doesn't work out, they don't get to go to Disney World next year. So, I mean, that's what, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. It's about me writing checks, and I saw comments on Facebook from members on this council stating we didn't have permits of the property, which is untrue. There's permits clearly posted at the property. We've been working on it speculatively, but pending tonight's decision, that's all I mean, I've got, for the inside, $200,000 in checks to write over the next 8 days. The parking lot's another wild card on how much that's going to cost. So it's not that property is a loss leader over time, but it's an investment because it's a catalyst. It's going to bring people into town, and it's going to make my other properties more valuable. It's going to make, I just closed on the Swallowview property 4 days ago. And it's also going to signal to me on whether or not private development is welcome in the town. So, I mean, if I am welcome in the town, I'm 100% entertainment, restaurants, foot traffic, bring people in. That's all my properties are all about, that kind of stuff. Zero government subsidies, no market rate, no set income housing. It's all about bringing people from Liberty, people from Kearney into town to experience the town. We did it in Parkville. People started coming there, they ate dinner, they thought it was fun, and then they bought a house there, and they raised their families there. So it's a clear blueprint that's happened across the United States of America about what has to happen here. And that's what I'm trying to do, you know, with my pennies compared to large investments. But my hope is, I just asked Melinda earlier, I said, why is Fishing River Market back on the market? And she said it's because the first one to open a auto repair shop. And so, like, I'm hoping that once all of my stuff opens up, someone comes in and buys the Fishing River Market and puts in a really cool business there. Because they say, you know what, all Titus's restaurants and facilities are packed with people, but they're not only going to eat there so many times. So you know what that needs? It needs a really cool, unique business at the Fishing River Market. And I'm going to pay, they listed for $750, I could have bought it for $210, but they're going to pay the $750 for it. And price per square footage is going to go up. Property values are going to go up. The county's going to get more money. There's going to be more sales tax revenue. So, you know, one is everything's being done at code. All permits are being pulled. I've gone through the whole process, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's on this project. So I think I've also spoken to, that have opened the door, every person in those neighborhoods at the Roosevelt. Many of them have lived there their entire lives. And I asked them, I said, where do people park for the football games? They said everywhere. And they said it was the greatest thing in the world. Every time someone who's older than 55, maybe 60, walks up to me, their eyes light up. And if I don't do something there, I can guarantee you Ted Eney's not. Guarantee you right now, Ted Eney ain't doing nothing there. That, if I do something there, maybe he'll probably end up deeding me the property in his will because he likes me. But the city's going to end up tearing it down. You're going to have another Royal Hotel, you have another school that's up on the hill that's just going to crumble. It's not going to be maintained, and we can look back on October 3rd for that. So I'll take any questions if you guys have any.
Well, I just want to say that you don't have a parking plan to start building on tomorrow. That's going to take some time to finish putting together. We have another council meeting in October
All we need
coming
is,
up
all we
before
need
your
is the.
first event.
Right, my engineer's
So,
got the lighting plan already done.
Who is your engineer?
Excuse me?
Who is your engineer?
Do you need to speak with him?
Well, I just want to make sure that there is a plan being developed here so that we know that we're not approving
I mean,
something
Melinda's
that.
on emails with me all day long with my architects and engineers. So,
Okay, that's
I mean,
fine.
I'm not gonna be out there with Christmas
You're
lights
talking
if that's
about
what
you
you're
have
asking.
approval from all the residents, but it's the residents of that street
Right, and
I'm speaking with.
how many public notices have gone out for residents to come before
I understand.
bodies to address
I
their
just
concerns?
want to make sure that we
So
have
we've
their
had-
concerns
right,
addressed.
Right, I understand that. But 2 years ago, we went through the process. Residents weren't crammed into these chambers complaining. Just last week, the process happened again. 2 people came in, they were excited about the project, they just wanted to make sure parking was handled. And the special use permit clearly outlines the parking plan be handled. But now people are saying people are calling them concerned about it, where letters go out, notices given, it's for any project, it's the process that goes through. This meeting was notified. Are there any residents here? So it makes me a little bit concerned about the, and again, this is my signal for the rest of the work I do here. It makes me a little bit concerned about the anecdotal evidence that will be made by this body, decisions based on anecdotal evidence by this body for private investment. The signal it sends to me for private investment, and the signal it sends to anyone else willing to make a private investment. Because they're not lined up.
I have a question. Staff was recommending this to planning and zoning, is that correct?
That's correct.
So at some point, we have to trust that our staff would be working with him, and if things are not as they should be, they would stop work. Is that
Exactly.
correct? So if he doesn't have the proper engineering for the parking lot, he would not be allowed to just go out and spread some asphalt out and call it a parking lot. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the city staff is working with the applicant now, and have been for a while, going and having the discussion as we do through the normal process to prepare the necessary parking plans that meet the city requirements to get city approval
Right.
by all the relative departments, and then a permit would be issued at that point. But no, yeah, the construction cannot start until that takes place. And then that's what would be codified in that stipulation as well.
Right, and staff is aware of the concerns about parking and the concerns of the citizens. I think at some point, we maybe just have to trust
I do trust our staff, Sharon.
our staff.
And I'm
I
in
know
constant
you do. I know
communication
you
with
do. That we have to
Melinda
trust
on
our
these
staff
issues.
to stay on top of the project, and that you would listen to their.
Oh, no, we have a very open, I'm an open dialogue person. I mean, Melinda and I have open conversations frequently. I have open conversations down in the basement frequently, questions and everything. I wouldn't even know how to spread asphalt. I mean, I wear white tennis shoes. I'm not gonna touch anything like that. But I mean, I deal with the building inspector on a daily basis. I deal with I'm in email, on all of my projects. Have email correspondence on fire, on egress, on everything. So I don't want to say I'm offended, but that you guys would think I would just go into a building and put a couple of Home Depot buckets and say, hey, you need to use the restroom, go on these. I don't know what usually happens here. I mean, I'm developing properties. I'm spending my money on them. I want them to be nice. The reason you develop properties is to make money, for their values to increase. So we do things right. And the parking issue is going to be up to the city staff, and Melinda's already made that clear to me on what she would or wouldn't approve. So that's just.
Well, I think we might just possibly be a little gun shy because the way the Royal looks right now.
The Royal looks incredible right now. You see what it looked like 8 months ago? I mean, have we driven by it? Have we seen what it looked like? There was when Preston Owen deeded me the property, the weeds in there were 80 inches tall. There was, I don't know how many dead bodies I threw away from inside the building. Like the place was jam-packed with vagrants and raccoons. There was a weird family deal going on with raccoons and homeless people in that building. There hasn't been a homeless person in that building in 4 months. The area is completely graded. The last remaining structural issue, the exterior brick, was all taken down and cleaned up. I mean, I invite you guys to come tour it at your convenience.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Titus, I'd just like to say to you, we welcome private investment. And I think maybe there was a little bit of bad blood at the outset because maybe some of the process and the approach, miscommunication. I've dealt with that in the past, dealing with planning and zoning downstairs, and it was just that. It was miscommunication. I own Payne Jailhouse Bed and Breakfast. I bought that. It was boarded up, burned out. The city had done an assessment for demolition, and I ended up buying it and rescuing it. And I bumped my head a few times, but I learned how to work with the city.
Yeah, and any developer, and you guys can run me out of here with tar and feather me if you want, but you go talk to any small town in Missouri, and I've been to every single one of them, you have to ask for forgiveness. You cannot develop a town like this without asking for forgiveness. If you're going to expect someone to go put 500 grand into a property that its top max will be worth $150,000, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's things that you have to do, especially in your case. That's how Weston was built. An owner-operator, not like me, but someone like you, buying a piece of property, putting sweat equity into it. All of those buildings in Weston on Main Street were purchased by an individual who was putting a business into that property, and they fixed them up themselves.
Yeah.
You know.
But I just wanted to say that I learned the process. I learned how to develop a rapport, and I'm not accusing you of not doing that.
I never will.
I just want you to know that we welcome private investment. I don't have a problem personally moving forward with a special use permit because it's all pursuant to the stipulations that have already been hammered out with you and our department.
Yeah.
So
And
I go on
appreciate
record
you
as
being
saying
here
that.
tonight.
Yeah, and
I'm
I'll
glad
tell
you
you,
came
you
also.
talk about building rapport. I have to apologize to Melinda and her staff every time I leave the meeting because I walk out and say, look, I don't dislike anyone in this room, but I just have to be very, very clear before I walk out where we stand, because I've been in the rooms in other cities and in this city where the expectations that were set and what we talked about, like 3 days later, were completely different. So I mean, so I have to be very, very clear and direct and everything, because I don't use my bank's money. I use my money. I use my own cash. Every single penny is my cash that I don't have a note on any of these properties. I buy them with cash. So I'm investing my own money into these projects. I mean, 6 months from now, maybe the bank will throw me a ton of cash on equity on, buildings going up in value. But like right now, it's all me taking a risk on this kind of stuff because I actually believe what can be there. And no one, for 15 years, it takes large scale. And right now there's just not a large enough scale of it. You gotta have children. You have to have families and you have to have children for something like this to happen. And that basketball team, I'll lose $100,000 on it. They'll probably win a championship because I've hired the best coach and they're bringing in the best players, and it'll be great for Excelsior Springs, the smallest town to ever win a championship in minor league basketball. But I'm going to lose a ton of money. Every game, I'm going to lose a ton of money. It's like, can't make any money off of it. But it's about setting the tone, and it's about having something start up so that the Paradise playoffs can open up in early December. So then, after that, 417 Thompson Street, I think I finally got the plans approved on that one, so that can open by mid-March. And then I could have the world's longest putt-putt golf hole up on the old Spalding property. I'm sure we'll be back in here talking about whether putt-putt's good for the residents back there or whatever, but I'm fine for that because, like, once you see a Titus Bond production, like, your guys are going to be writing me checks to come do stuff for you. So I know you don't know me, you don't want to trust me, but trust Melinda, and I'm gonna argue with her. You know, it's going to happen. I'm going to protect my money. Like I just have to. It's
Well,
my
you
job.
know, I do appreciate you being here, and the public does have an opportunity now to hear your version, you know, your voice, what your
I've
goals
talked to them all
offer
in
here.
person. I've knocked on their doors.
You're in a larger audience tonight
Yeah,
than
you're
what you
being-
Oh,
realize.
I mean, it's not the largest audience
And
I've
so,
ever been in front, but
you know,
it's
we're
just my
just
concern
we're
about it.
just vetting their concerns tonight. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and
putting
I,
a voice to that.
Yeah, and I just, anything I do, it's going to be based around traffic. It's going to be based around entertainment. It's going to be based around food, and it's going to be based around people having fun and
Well,
doing something.
and
So
I
it's not
just-
going to
yeah.
have it. It's not
Well,
going to open candle shops
right.
or apartments.
But it'll be good for the neighborhood if we can get that building saved and, you know, people stop throwing rocks at the windows and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, so.
and their home values are going to go
You
up.
know,
Can
yeah,
I
that'll be
ask
good
you,
for the
as far
neighborhood.
as the parking goes, that seems to be a sticking point right now, so, you've talked with Melinda about our requirements for parking,
Mhm.
okay? Can you make that happen in 45 days?
I mean,
Because your first game is November 29th, is that?
13th, November 13th.
Yeah.
Okay, so less than 30 days.
Yeah, and I've been waiting for this. 2 weeks ago, I got very concerned. We had a very, very good pre-development meeting, and I was ready to go. And then I just got concerned about what, I hear everything. I know what everyone's saying, what everyone's thinking, on every street corner in this town. So I started getting concerned that this was gonna be an issue here tonight. So I halted that. I've got my guys building firewalls right now. You know, I'm not engaging in a parking lot construction because if I wasn't here tonight, you guys would have tabled this. So I don't know why,
Don't
other
be
than.
too sure about that. There's been one comment
Well, only
that
one
suggested.
comment.
we
Yeah,
table it.
but I mean, I was concerned because I literally 2 people living in the same house were the only people that have publicly voiced any concern to the public. And I've knocked on those doors, I've talked to them, they invite me in for coffee, and I find it hard to believe that there's an overwhelming consensus of concern.
Yeah.
I don't even think they would be concerned if there wasn't a parking lot. I think they'd be telling people to park in their driveways and selling them hot chocolate after the games. And
But that's-
honestly,
But to be fair, that's not the citizens that live on that street, that's not their decision.
no,
because
I
there are
understand, I
ordinances in
understand, but
place.
I'm just saying that the concern's not from the neighborhood,
Okay.
is my point. The concern is not from that neighborhood. They're not concerned that people are gonna, they chose to live there, and many of them have been living there for years, and actually like light up when you talk to them about the football games on Friday nights, and about, you know, just the people parking everywhere and how fun it was and exciting it was. They live downtown, so, but, I mean, yeah, we've talked about the parking. I don't know if we're gonna get it done in 45 days, honestly. So, I mean, we got the lighting plan done today, so. it's
So
just-
do you have an alternative plan to relocate those games somewhere until that happens so that you can get occupancy?
I don't know.
Because that would probably have to happen until you get the,
Yeah,
the
I
parking.
mean, we'll see how the conversations with the city go, on the parking, and,
I guess we could relocate parking and use trolleys.
yeah, I mean,
Shuttle.
yeah, there's.
No,
there's-
that's not what,
It's not.
that's not what's been stipulated.
No, it has to be.
It has to be
according to
parking
what
lot.
we approve for this evening, if that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, there's, end of the day, you guys control your town. You guys were elected by your residents to control your city. So at any time, you can come back and you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, just like when you walk into your house, it's your house. So, there's, I've done more in less time.
Okay.
So, I got Donald Trump not to endorse Eric Greitens in a 3-hour span, so, and he was getting ready to press send on the tweet, so. I think it's a very, very, very big lift with a very, very, very small financial reward, but it is what it is. But we're gonna see how the timelines work out.
Okay.
So I think the city can expedite. I mean, it's a 22 car parking lot, so it's not very difficult to say, okay, this is it. I mean, I think Chantel could do that in an afternoon. Look at the lighting plan and the measurements and say, okay, go ahead and start.
Right. Is that 22 car lot consistent with the size crowds that you think you'll be having?
That's what the planning mandated. That wasn't proposed by me. I told them to tell me how many to build.
Was that number based on?
I don't believe that was based on the 200. I need to go back and check.
It's based on, I believe, square footage for public events, is what Chantel based it on.
I would be concerned also that that's not adequate parking.
I can tell you I'm not going to build a bigger lot than 22. I'm not going to build, we're not going to have Arrowhead Stadium out there. There was 5,000 people there at football games on Friday nights with no parking lot. I drove through downtown during homecoming, and the city designated grass lots as parking lots for homecoming. I have a football field, so I can have overflow into the football field. I have 2 acres of graded grass with asphalt track around it. So the city described to me the size of the parking lot. Like you said, you trusted the city. If you don't, let's go on record right now and allow you guys to tell the professionals how many parking spots we need before I walk out of here. I think that's necessary, that we, right, because we don't want to move the goalposts later. I don't want tomorrow for the city staff to approve a parking lot, and then you guys say, no, that's not adequate, we need more parking spots.
Well, our city tells us what's adequate. We don't tell them. But we have the right to be concerned about the project and make sure that,
Yeah,
we're all at the same table.
Yeah,
all walking in the same
right,
direction.
and I need to, I'm spending a little bit more money on this project than you are, so I need to make sure that we're on the same page. And again, this goes back to when I have my meetings with her, I have to be very, very direct and get on the same, because that right there very concerned me a lot, your comment there. So I don't want to go have a 22 car parking lot approved, built, and then, hey, sorry, you can't, no, we need 18 more spots. Like, that's not fair to anyone on that front. So it was the resolution was a special use permit per an approved parking plan by the city, and we're working towards that. And I was told the number of parking spots and we'll have 4 handicap spots up front, so I guess it's 26.
Now, this 22 parking spaces were for this specific application, or was this for the prior?
No, this is mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's gone. That one expired.
Okay.
Yeah. This is mine.
Okay.
I don't think they ever put together a parking plan for the gymnasium.
So if you choose to move forward, you'll be approving a special use permit with the stipulations that were provided to you by planning and zoning.
Mhm.
That is what's before you.
Okay, are we ready to move forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Titus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, an ordinance approving a special use permit for the commercial rental of the old Roosevelt High School gymnasium for public events in District RP-4, planned medium-density apartment district at 101 Richmond Street, City of Excelsior Springs, Clay County, Missouri.
I move we take ordinance number 22-10-01, consideration of special use permit for 101 Richmond Street to second reading.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Okay. An ordinance approving a special use permit for the commercial rental of the old Roosevelt High School gymnasium for public events in the District RP-4 planned medium density apartment district at 101 Richmond Street, City of Excelsior Springs, Clay County, Missouri.
I make a motion we approve ordinance number 22-10-01, consideration of special use permit for 101 Richmond Street.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski?
Yes.
Councilman Spawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear?
Yes.
Mayor Powell?
Yes. Okay, it is approved, and we know you're going to be working together with our codes department and our planning and zoning, so good luck. Agenda item number 6, consideration of the water sale purchase agreement with MAWC.
The City of Excelsior Springs has sold water to Missouri American Water for actually since 2000, and City of Lawson is the recipient of that agreement. This is a new agreement. It is 5 years that will begin today and will end in 2027. The contract is attached.
Are there any questions? Okay, an ordinance approving a water sale purchase agreement with Missouri American Water Company.
I move we take ordinance number 22-10-02, consideration of water sale purchase agreement with MAWC to second reading.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Spawn?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear?
Yes.
Mayor Powell?
Yes. An ordinance approving a water sale purchase agreement with Missouri American Water Company.
I move that we approve ordinance number 22-10-02, consideration of water sale purchase agreement with MAWC.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Spawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear?
Yes.
Mayor Powell?
Yes. Agenda item number 7 is an ordinance approving the extension of appointment of Sean L. Blair as the Excelsior Springs Municipal Judge and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for said services.
Do I need to add anything to that? That's pretty
We
much summed it up.
Yeah. Okay. An ordinance approving the extension of the appointment of Sean L. Blair as Excelsior Springs Municipal Judge and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for said services.
We would take ordinance number 22-10-03, consideration of agreement for municipal court judge to second reading.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski?
Yes.
Councilman Spawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear?
Yes.
Mayor Powell?
Yes. An ordinance approving the extension of the appointment of Sean L. Blair as the Excelsior Springs Municipal Judge and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for said services.
I move that we approve ordinance number 22-10-03, consideration of agreement for municipal court judge.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Spawn?
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear?
Yes.
Mayor Powell?
Yes. Agenda item number 8 is an ordinance allowing claims and appropriating to pay the same by issuing checks out of various funds of the city.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appropriations presented for your approval is for a 2-week period from 9/14 of '22 until 9/30 of '22. Appropriations on 9/14, $126,673.89, and appropriations on 9/21 of $260,788.12, and payroll on 9/30 of $363,746.51, for total appropriations for your approval, $751,208.52.
Any questions? Okay, an ordinance allowing claims and appropriating to pay the same by issuing checks out of various funds of the city.
I move we take ordinance number 22-10-04, consideration of appropriations to second reading.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell,
Yes. An ordinance allowing claims and appropriating to pay the same by issuing checks out of various funds of the city.
I move we approve ordinance number 22-10-04, consideration of appropriations.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, remarks by city manager?
Well, I'm sure I'm just the first person tonight to get to say with pride how the weekend was handled. A lot of very tense situations were handled very well. Couldn't be more proud. Also, the appreciation has to be given to our partners in the community around us: Clay County, Ray County, Liberty, Kearney, Smithville, Lee Summit, Independence, and we wish our police family well.
Okay, Sonia?
Well, I agree. It was handled so professionally by everyone. And I was at Price Chopper, and we were all standing there looking, out the window, a lot of the residents and the employees there, and they're just saying, this doesn't happen in Excelsior Springs. For us, it was just heartbreaking to know that, we were having to witness this, but just really proud of everything. Thank you.
And to that, I fielded a few questions. If there's anything that we can do as a community, I know you would let us know, but please let us know. I know there are those that want to give or GoFundMe or whatever that might look like. We would appreciate knowing that.
I've had that question posed to me by a member of the media doing an interview, and I said, just have the community keep doing what they're doing, because this community is very supportive of not just the police, but all of the public service, public safety personnel here, and I know that we all appreciate it very much. And I don't want to say it's unique, but it certainly is special here. So.
Very good.
Mark?
I would just like to thank Brother Chief for his service to Excelsior. Less than 6 months on duty and twice having an incident like this. You must be going, what have I got myself into? But then again, you came from Kansas City, right?
I did.
So
not anything I haven't seen before, unfortunately.
Yeah. Our prayers continue to be with you and your staff, and also I followed a lot of the thread on Facebook. Be in prayer for the family of Carl.
Yes, absolutely.
Battling with mental illness all of his life. I graduated high school with Carl.
Yeah.
And so his family has certain considerations at this time too. So
absolutely, and they have reached out to appreciate the police department.
Excellent.
So.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Andrew?
Nothing to add, like everyone's sentiments, but nothing else to add.
That family has been a big part of this city for a very long
Absolutely.
time, involved in park department and
Yes.
city council, and so we just need to keep all of them in our thoughts and prayers. So. Okay, thank you so much. All right, at this time, the council has the need to enter into closed session, and so I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we. Is there any certain
Yeah,
thing?
there is.
There you go.
Normally it's on
There's
here,
the
it's not
script.
tonight.
I move to close the meeting pursuant to section 610.021.1 and 610.021.2 RSMO.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Okay, we are closed. Thank you all for coming
Thank
tonight.
you.
If I'd have clicked on